Hey guys, it's me, it's Maz, and I'm back doing another video for Ark Survival Evolved, Ark Omega mod, and I do not have time to talk with you guys about likes, subscribes, and shares today because 3.0 has dropped. Everybody hear that? 3.0 has finally dropped, and I'm coming at you with a recap of what I think is some of the most important things that have been done, so let's get right to it. Let's go! Okay guys, changes for Ark Omega 3.0. I decided to sit down in this chair, out of the fire, warm up. We can have a nice conversation. Alright, so these are in no particular order, but these are the quality of life things and some of the additives and changes that I thought were very important things that you guys should absolutely know about. The full change log was, I don't know, 6 pages long is what it felt like. Maybe a little bit less, a little bit more, I don't know. So I just tried to take out the things that I thought were the most important. So here we go. The item colors, not all of them, but some of them have been changed. Charms are still blue as they were before. Legendaries are going to be red. Uniques are going to be yellow, same kind of concept. But regular items are now teal in color, and you can look at them, and there's something on there called like an item score. I don't really know what that is yet. I haven't really received any information on it, but there's an item score, so I would assume higher the better, but I don't really know exactly what that all means. Legendary items, the red items, they can now be grinded at the grinder for 10 times the fragments versus their unique counterparts. So before they couldn't be grinded, and they can now. So really important. You can get a lot more unique fragments that way. Quests have finally been added. Thankfully. Oh my gosh, this is wonderful. So when you kill dinos, you have a 1 in 100 chance to drop a quest item, which ends up being a white beam of light on the ground, a white item basically. And you can only have 100 quests at a time. You pick it up, you hit E on it, and it adds it to your quests under your F1. When you complete the quest, you go in there, you click the button, and you can just get whatever paragons or whatever items, because there are other items you can get that it says that you are going to get. By the way, that 1 in 100 chance is affected by your magic find, and it is affected by the lucky charm. Guys, big sad, really big sad. Uber Bleed, which is the mechanic that I've used on my Deinonychus that you guys have seen in my videos, no longer has its damage multiplied by curse. So, you know, rip to that. So the curse that I've been using will no longer multiply the damage of my bleeds. It will still multiply the damage of my attacks, but not my bleeds. So big sad on that. Speaking of curse, another big sad is that curse will no longer reduce the damage done by enemies. It only increases how much damage they take. So to balance that out a little bit, instead of increasing the damage that enemies take by 50%, it now increases it by 75%. But be careful out there, because obviously, you know, your curses are no longer reducing the enemy's damage. So if you're being hit for 100,000 damage, you're being hit for 100,000 damage now. There's no longer any reduction to that. 7th variants, such as your lethal, you know, your cursed dinos, disruptor, potion, etc., 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 they can now be bred, but only with themselves. So it's not even the same variant group anymore. It is just that specific dino. So you have to, you know, do cursed with cursed, lethal with lethal, disruptor with disruptor, element with element, whatever the case is. You can breed them together. It's great, but it just forces you to get 2 of the exact same dino to breed them out. Kind of sucks, but hey, better than nothing. The Gene Splicer now shows you combinations that you can use in a list. So all you got to do is you walk up to the Gene Splicer, you click the button, and it shows you a nice little list of the combinations that can be made. Speaking of the Gene Splicer, uniques can now mate using the Gene Splicer. It will tell you what is required to get them to mate, how many paragons or shards or whatever the case might be. It's probably going to be paragons. I haven't even tried it myself yet, but it will show you that in there from here on out. And my favorite part of all of my videos, the world save. It wouldn't be a Maz video on Ark Omega without a world save. Anyways, lucky variant bosses, enemies, whatever the case is. You can now remove lucky variant buffs, such as the 90% damage reduction or the 90% dodge. And later in the game, from Jackpot, he has an aura that he does to you to destroy you and kill you. That can also be removed. So disruptors are now incredibly important. They were only mildly important before, but now they're incredibly important. You use a disruptor dino, and it removes their dodge rate, and it also removes Jackpot's aura, from what we were told there. And if you have an element dino, they're shards, so after they're hit, they drop off those shards. Those shards will remove damage reduction for any dino that's hit that has any type of damage reduction. It will also prevent damage reduction, dodge, or Jackpot's aura from coming back up later, because there is a sickness that comes with either the disruptor or the element. Just as a reminder, a lot of people have been talking about this, wondering why it wasn't working. For the element specifically, it has to be the shard that comes off of the dino after it is hit. So you can't have it sitting off to the side. It's not an aura. In our server, we can put it on our shoulder. It's not an attack. It literally has to be hit, and that shard has to fly off and hit the respective dino. Sorry, I had to Alt-Tab here really quick to move down in my list. So yes, the sound did go away, and now it's back. Okay. After all that good stuff there, less important piece, but kind of important, wild dinos should no longer poop out eggs. I have actually seen a few of them still pooping out eggs. I don't know why, but they did this to prevent people from boosting forward and getting Omega eggs, or getting, other types of ultimate or, prime eggs when they're only at, basic, alpha, beta, whatever the case might be. Absorbent shield for the absorbent dinos. You can now just toggle it on and off using the multi-wheel. Before, you actually had to sit on the dino and toggle it on or off with your C or X, I don't remember which one, but now you can just toggle it on or off using the multi-wheel. So it's still a great combination to have with a ancient potion dino, so that you can feed it stamina potions, and that absorbent bubble can just remain up at all times. Huge boost happened with trackers for endgame. So if you use trackers, you know that the Omega trackers, when you use their ability, it says, hey, there's a unique dino somewhere in the area. And then when you move that up to a godlike tracker, it says the name of the dino that's, somewhere in the area. But now if you go up to ancient tracker, it actually tells you the distance between you and that unique dino, so that you can much easier find the dino that you're looking for. Okay, a big buff has been for the Nameless. So if you're a fan of the Nameless at all, or you've got some of them and you're like, oh, I thought these would be great, but they're really crappy. Now they're pretty cool. Nameless can become alpha when you're riding them just by right-clicking. They gain 100% size, they gain 75% damage reduction, and they gain a 400% damage output. So awesome damage reduction. Before, not so much. They also have a pack bonus for up to 8, so even if you just have them sitting off to the side and not being hit by whatever boss or whatever god that you're fighting, if they're off to the side and you're still within range, you can get that pack bonus for up to 8. And they also did a thing where when you tame them, I guess their health and damage base levels have been doubled. I don't know what the base levels are, but let's just say health is at 10 and damage is at 15 for a wild dino. Well, you tame them and suddenly the base goes up from 10 to 20 for the health and 15 to 30 for the damage. I don't know what they are, don't quote me, but that's an example. Another really cool feature, because a lot of people have been asking me how to get unique saddles and all this other good stuff. Right now, they just added a brand new thing where wild dinos can spawn, very rarely with a unique saddle buff. It's a golden ring around said dino. And when you kill them, you get a saddle token that you can either use to get a base saddle, but you can't imbue it, which is really crappy. But for those people in the beginning, early, mid-game, that type of stuff, you're not so much worried about the imbues as you are about the ability from the unique saddle itself. Or later, mid to end game, whatever you want to call that, you can take that token and you can use that in the altar to summon a saddle god instead of using paragons, which is pretty cool because it just reduces the paragon usage. Okay, so in some sad news, Luticorn drops have dropped by 33%. So they dropped 33% less loot. And Paragon monsters drop one fewer Paragon soul, relative to each tier. So it used to be 4, and now it's 3. I do want to clarify one more thing, that if you have Zetherian creatures installed on your server, it will still be 4. So I'm not sure if that's going to affect a lot of servers, most servers, or very few servers, but supposedly that is the difference there. All right, Alt-tabbing again to move down because, my list is quite large. All right, so good news is Lucky Dinos finally have an ancient tier. Yes, you can finally make them ancient. Now again, this is mid to end game type stuff. Definitely end game, because the only thing that you have to do, very easy, is kill a destroyer or protector, which seems to be the step above group gods, and then you consume their soul. So that's really easy, right? I mean, that's like everybody can do that, right? Right? Okay. Anyways, Rage Group. So what you get after killing the Rage Group God and feeding that to your Rage Dinos, you now get a new and improved version of Brutal Bleed. Now, I didn't see any information on what that exactly provides, but Brutal Bleed from the Rage Group variant, once you kill the Group God and feed it to your Rage Dino, does something extra, special, and more powerful. In some other news, bosses are no longer able to drop Paragon souls. Don't know why they chose to do this, but when you're going up through the Paragon bosses and you're trying to get them from basic, beta, alpha, prime, ultimate, all the way up to ancient, as you're doing so, they no longer drop Paragon souls. Don't really know why, but it is what it is. All right, Omega souls are now worth 1 soul in the Soul Grinder. Soul Shard in the Soul Grinder. It used to be a 3-to-1 ratio. I made a video about that, but it's actually kind of huge early game, because in the early game you're mostly going to be getting those Omega Souls, and you need the Soul Shards to do your cursing and whatever else, so that's going to be a big boost, to the early game people. Ancient Essence has been added to the game, and it drops from Unique Gods, Zodiac, and I believe it said a few others, but there was kind of a discrepancy between 2 of the different announcements that were made, so I'm just going to say that it's going to drop from those guys and maybe a few others. Okay, so I know a lot of people have been asking me about mid-set game items and mid-set uniques and how to get them and why they don't drop as much. Apparently there was a problem and they fixed the drop chance, so hopefully we'll see more of those. Some of them we might see less of because their loot pool was too high, but hopefully we'll see a more balanced amount for the ones that we do have there. Let's see. Okay. If you like doing chests, there is now a Hoarder chest key that you can get. So from what I understand, instead of using Essence, if you have that Hoarder chest key, you can just walk up to a Hoarder chest and, plug that in and you're done. Max XP potions have been added to the game, which is great. I don't think they're incredibly important, but it just saves you a lot of time and effort. Just remember that in the game, you cannot do any more than 88 stats into a single stat point. Otherwise, bosses will then begin not taking extra damage or not giving you extra HP based on that. I don't know how to describe it any better than that, but effectively speaking, they only recognize 88 stat points that you level up into a dino in any given stat. Otherwise, it becomes detrimental or negates the effect altogether. Alright, there was a huge, awesomely cool thing. Everybody has always been like, oh man, why can't we just have a universal kibble? Why do I gotta have 13 different types of kibble and go back and forth? Well guys, your prayers have been answered. Unique kibble is now considered a universal kibble. Each tier, basic, beta, alpha, whatever, takes 1 of each egg of that tier, so 13 total eggs, but it can tame any dino of that tier or lower. So an example, Omega Unique, effectively speaking, can tame anything in the game, but it takes 1 Omega egg from each variant type. So that's great. In sad news, as you guys know, one of my favorite farming sets is the Soul Scream, and the chest piece no longer removes the soul or essence weightlessness, but gives a 25% dodge chance. So, F, rip, to infinite souls and essence while you're farming. But that's okay, because in other news, soul weight has been reduced by 80%, so not terrible. Unique saddles that allow uncontrollables to be ridden now simply say can run the uncontrollable variant. So I don't know if they fixed some of the bugs that were going on with uncontrollables, but I hope that they did, and I hope that alludes to that. If you are killing dinos on a mount, in other words, you are riding another dino and you are killing other dinos, before, I don't want to be quoted, but I want to say that item drop chance was like 1 in 5,000. Well, now they have that doubled. That is now 1 in 2,500. So it's still better to, farm loot while you're on foot. However, you should start to see some more drops now that you're mounted. There was a big buff for the Black Widow and Widow Monster saddles when they web creatures. From now on, they take triple damage. It appears to be from all sources, is kind of what this alludes to. I don't want to quote that right now, but if that's the case and you can take triple damage from all sources, that is an incredible buff to those saddles. Another super important part is player ranks have been added. When you hit F1, you look on the bottom right, it says player rank. All you do is you click on each rank and it shows you what dinos you have to kill, how many you have remaining. Once you kill those, it'll tell you that it's completed, and then you get the damage reduction that it shows. It goes, I believe, from 60% all the way up to 99.4 or 99.6% damage reduction, something along that line. It's pretty cool. Let's see here. There are a plethora of new dinos that have been added, not necessarily new dinos to the game per se, but new dinos to the mod. So they modded these specific dinos that didn't have special mods before, and they are the list that I have here are limited, not limited to, whatever you want to call it. The Andrewsarchus, the Fenrir, Desmodus, Alpha Daedon, Alpha Coelacanth, Alpha Meganura, and the Polar Bear. They've also added some new hybrids. I don't know if they added any more beyond this, but these are the few that they listed. And I don't know what all of them are, so maybe you can help figure that out. They've got the Ravasaurus, the Owlbear, the Bulb Worm, Titanosaur, Rock Bags, Rhino Beetle, Leech Icarus, Murky, the Namek, the Glowy Raptor, the Megateuthus, the Immense Unit, Compy Soldier, and I would guess Caladon or Chaladon, probably Caladon. So those are a bunch of new hybrids, and you can go look in the Gene Splicer and you can see what it takes to make all of them. So that does end my recap of 3.0. There's also a slew of new legendary and unique saddles and other items that have been added that aren't even in the list, apparently. Tons of stuff has been added, fixed, revamped, reworked. So do be careful out there. Have fun. I wish you guys the best of luck and expect more videos here in the coming days trying to explain some of the new mechanics, the quality of life updates, and hopefully how to get around some of the failures of the system now that are going to destroy a lot of the strategies that most of us used. So I'll begin assembling a team of Avengers here soon, to fight Thanos. No, but seriously, I got to get a whole team of new dinos here to start doing the bosses and gods properly, and I'm going to try to show you guys my setup. So hey guys, thank you so much for watching. I'm sorry this was kind of one of those boring sit by the fire and talk conversations, but at least there's a list of the stuff that you guys were looking for, and hopefully we'll see you guys soon.